What's going on in fucking Romania, man? Not good. Not good at all. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Benjamin Netanyahu's new friend. Benjamin Netanyahu has found himself another Holocaust denier to befriend in Europe. Oh my God. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's actually kind of funny because Romanians were saying it's election interference. Not realizing that, no, Israel gets to do that. They can do that. You crazy? They do that to America. You think they can't do that to Romania? That's nutty. No, Benjamin Netanyahu calls who he wants, okay? Before the election, after the election, whenever he wants. Yes, Călin Georgescu wrote the foreword to RFK's translated book in Romanian. They're homies. They're both anti-vaxxers. The Romanian crystal mommy regime is it's coming. Yes, I'm coming to Oxford. Donald Trump popped off about hostage releases in Gaza. Let's take a look.
If the Israeli hostages are not released by the time he takes office in January. Now, it's not clear what he means by that threat. On Saturday, Hamas released a propaganda video of an American-Israeli soldier, Eden Alexander's his name. He's been held there since the October 7th massacre. Deborah Pata shows us a new strategy by the hostages' families in Israel.
They have tried shouting, pleading, anger. Nothing has worked. They have lost their words. So now they have gone quiet.
The protesters here hope that their silence will speak more powerfully than any words. But the message remains the same.
Damn, why are you in between them talking? That's crazy. Georgescu is not homies with RFK. He just claims to be in order for us to stop calling him a Russian asset. Our U.S. ambassador confirmed RFK doesn't know who he is. Wait, really? Wait, so he's just been lying? Oh, that's kind of a bummer. That made me sad. It made perfect sense for me to think that like they were linked up because RFK is such a low-level freak who I totally would have suspected would be a part of like this international consortium of anti-vaxxers. So it made perfect sense in my headcanon, but it is so fucking funny because he's not even lying about like, I don't know, befriending like an American senator. He's lying about befriending RFK Jr., who until this past election had no motion whatsoever. He was like a low-level crank. So he couldn't even lie about someone cool. It's the one Kennedy that wasn't impacted by the Kennedy curse because it's, a much larger stain upon the family for him to be alive and behave in the ways that he does. Looking at that guy, pointing to that guy and being like, nah, that's my bestie. I'm linked up. I'm mobbed up with the American government. I got insider access to the American government by way of RFK Jr. is pretty funny. Let's continue with this.
Home now.
Dressed in white, young and old, united in anguish. This is where their loved ones are, held captive in Gaza. Everyone is worried that time is running out to save them, as it did for Nofar Bushtaf's brother Yogev.
He should be alive and here with us today.
Many protesters here believe Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is deliberately prolonging the war to avoid his upcoming corruption trial.
We are all slaves of his...
I mean, that is what's going on. That's like part of it, yes. I'm glad that the media can only frame it from the perspective of like Israeli hostage families openly recognizing the truth and yelling about it. But this is no longer a matter of speculation. It's just the truth. Yes, of course they're calling for a ceasefire. Yes, they have been. And these are not... Yeah, I mean, this is something that I talked about 3 months ago. It's something that I talked about even before 3 months ago. It's just the thing that is happening.
Private interest.
I think Israeli government doesn't want to, have this deal.
This is not Jewish, this is not Israeli.
And it's not right, says Herut Nimrodi, who feels her son Tamir has been abandoned.
It's very hard for me to remember his voice, his laughter. Things are
starting to fade away, and it's horrifying.
And so she seeks solace in the power of this sisterhood. Together, they weep and softly sing. They are daughters, sisters, wives, and most of all, they are mothers.
There are still 101 hostages in Gaza. There is a new deal on the table in Cairo in another push to end the war and bring those still alive back home and the bodies of those killed for burial.
Also, Donald Trump was like, there will be hell to pay. So Hamas came out with a statement. New statement from Hamas by way of Jeremy Scahill of Drop Site News. Hamas responds to Trump threat that there will be all hell to pay in the Middle East if the Israeli hostages are not released before Trump's inauguration. Statement from Bassem Naim of Hamas's Politburo. 1. Since the beginning of this genocide, Hamas has publicly announced and been active in seeking a permanent ceasefire to the end of the Israeli aggression against our people, a deal which would have included a full prisoners exchange. Number 2. However, Netanyahu has sabotaged all these attempts. At many times, we were extremely close to signing on a deal. But due to his savage actions and decisions, the deals broke down. Therefore, Hamas understands that Trump's message is actually directed first towards Netanyahu and his government. They need to end their evil game by using negotiations as a cover for their personal, political, ideological interests. Yeah, I don't think Trump is saying this to Netanyahu. I'm gonna keep it $1.50. I think he's saying he's gonna increase the faucet of genocide. Not that it matters because you're already in the throes of genocide. At that point, it's like they're doing, it's kind of the maximalist position, right? Hamas is committed to immediately implementing the Security Council Resolution 2735 and the deal struck on July 2nd, 2024. We are looking forward to the daytime seeing an end of this genocide against our people, their free return back to their homes all over the Gaza Strip, and prisoners from both sides freed and enjoying living amongst their families again. Our people are eager to secure a better future for their children, full of hope, dignity, and prosperity. Jeremy says, a couple thoughts. Trump's bombastic threats to unleash some untold horror if the Israelis and U.S. captives are not released occurs as ceasefire talks have resumed. This is important to note. I think Trump wants to take credit for it if there is potentially a ceasefire even before the inauguration. Hamas is not going to do something or tremble in fear because of Trump's threats to future action. The timing does indicate Trump is looped in on the potential deal being negotiated and wants to set himself up to take credit for any success in the release of the hostages. It is also true that Netanyahu has repeatedly sabotaged deals that would have seen the release of the Israeli and U.S. captives held in Gaza. Many hostages have died as a result of Israeli attacks and a total refusal to make a deal to secure their release. The only difference is if Israel is the party that is not corresponding and Israel is the party that is routinely fucking up the hostage negotiations, and Benjamin Netanyahu feels comfortable with Donald Trump and feels like Donald Trump will have his back if there's any sort of like internal political persecution, or the prosecution of Benjamin Netanyahu continues for corruption, and Donald Trump gives Benjamin Netanyahu assurances that he will protect his political career and will ensure that he is not prosecuted, then he might be more responsive to a ceasefire negotiation, especially if he thinks that Donald Trump will most likely, backed by Miriam Adelson, allow the permanent annexation and occupation of at least North Gaza. I think that is the only way that a ceasefire is implemented. Benjamin Netanyahu does whatever he wants under Biden. And now that he got his wishes and Trump is president, he still gets to do whatever he wants. And now he gets to avoid potentially some political persecution. Tangential might be good to read on stream, since your debate might not come out for another 2 weeks. This is a previous speech you were following in Oxford. This is Susan Abdul Hawa, who this was her remarks at Oxford Union debate. Do you mean to always beat Phil to the news, lol? Well, it's because he's writing his script. Usually in the mornings while I'm live. Here is pro-Israel journalist Yosef Haddad kicked out of the Oxford Union debate. Oxford Union. Anti-Semitism is alive and well at Oxford Union. They kicked Yosef Haddad out. So I'm in London. Many of you are asking over and over again, why are you in London? It's because I'm going to Cambridge Union and Oxford Union. While the setting is supposed to be for debates and whatnot, my situation is a little bit different. They wanted me to give a speech, which I have not written. Now, I know Yosef Haddad is not Jewish. Guys, you don't understand. If you defend Israel publicly, okay, and people get mad at you, that means they're anti-Semitic too. Okay? That's just the way it works. That's why so many Christian Zionists feel comfortable shitting on anti-Zionist Jews and using deeply anti-Semitic speeches to do so. You must understand. Judaism is not, in the eyes of people who defend Israel, Judaism is not about actually being Jewish. It's about how hard you ride for Israel. So a Christian could be more Jewish than an anti-Zionist Jew. Or at least that's the way a lot of people feel about it. A lot of people who defend Israel feel about it. Okay? Can you fix Brexit while you're there? No. England deserves to not be a part of the EU for shit like this.
So I'm in a smart hotel in London. I've got a cup of coffee. I want some milk. Let's have a look. We've got semi-skim. I don't like that. Oat milk. What on earth's that when it's at home? Almond milk. All I want's proper bloody milk. Not left-wing options. Proper milk. What's wrong with me asking for that?
Treating semi-skim milk like it's some insane vegan lefty option is wild. This is British culture wars. Semi-skim milk? That's proper gay. Oh no. What's this? Democracy manifest. Gaze upon the wokes and what they've done to our cows. These woke milks have no place in British society. I simply want to enjoy a succulent, full-fat milk. No semi-skim. This is what you do when you're bored, when you got nothing else going on. A deeply unserious society.
Oxford University, the Oxford Debating Society, is meant to be, an august organisation, a bastion of free speech, democracy, light and thought, but it was hijacked by jihadists, quite simply.
Oh, that's amazing. Oxford University's Union Debate Society is supposed to be an august institution where free speech prospers and thrives. And yet, they've used that free speech in a way that I disagree. Which means that they're jihadists and must be culled. It's great. It's awesome. It's awesome to just be like, yeah, this is a free speech institution. And I hate the kinds of speech that they're doing. So they shouldn't do that any longer. Sick. Yeah, I didn't realize free speech meant like, you know, only the speech you appreciate and enjoy. And no matter how truthful something might be, if it hurts your feelings, then it should not actually happen.
I still think it was the right thing to do to go there to debate, because I don't think they were necessarily debating their opponents or those in the crowd, those that were cheering essentially for the murderers, butchers and rapists of Hamas, but for everyone else that was watching them, and to expose those people that do reject Israel's right to exist, that do cheer on the crimes of groups like Hamas under the guise of some kind of enlightened thought of free speech. So I think they were the right to do it, and I certainly applaud them for doing so.
Unbelievable to think that this is the level of debate, how things descend into chaos at an institution like Oxford. You've just come back, Hasan, from Canada, addressing the Canadian Parliament. Concerns, of course, about anti-Semitism, the uptick around the globe since the 7th of October. Tell us more.
You know, it was a surreal experience. As I was actually packing to go to Canada, my wife had asked me, "Are you going to have security?" And I thought for a second, you know, what is she talking about? I'm literally flying in from a war zone, but at the same time, I was as if flying into another war zone. And I was there in Montreal during those riots.
Jewish Insider is doing another hit piece on me after the last one got no motion. This time, they're mad that I didn't call the football hooligan fights that occurred in Amsterdam a pogrom. And it's like, just give it up, dude. What's happening, man? Why are you still hitting that? Why are you still just like, that's really fucking anti-Semitic that you don't consider like the Tel Aviv Maccabi football hooligans to be victims of a Kristallnacht style pogrom? Like, who believes this? Why are you still running with this narrative? Like, what are you doing? This man said there are riots occurring in Montreal. It's a real war zone. He's like, I'm actually leaving Tel Aviv, a war zone, to go to Montreal, and I need security because that's the real war zone. First of all, Tel Aviv, not exactly a war zone, okay? It's Gaza, where the genocide is occurring, not in Tel Aviv, so calm down. And secondly, the notion that you're going to go to another like developed Western nation, and it's a fucking war zone because people are just like looking out to like the failed Dagestani pogrom that occurred in the beginning of October of 2023 when they were like looking for Jewish people in the fucking you know, in the engine of a plane or whatever. Like they're making it seem like that's what's happening in Montreal. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And they were just harrowing. It was, you know, it's hard not to draw parallels to what happened in Amsterdam. Right. And when I spoke to leaders there from all levels of...
Like, why are we acting like Jews don't exist in these places, man? What the fuck? Amsterdam and Pogrom Trial. Like, it's so funny when people are like, you don't understand. You don't get it. You understand the fear I feel in my heart when I'm in the Upper East Side of New York? Positively. I mean, Harlem has turned into Hamas Harlem. It's everywhere. It's like, come on, dude. How long are you in the UK? Oh. All right, let's keep going.
The political echelon, I told them unless corrective action is taken, there will be a repeat on the streets of Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, what happened in Amsterdam. The community is under assault. I spoke to students, they're scared. They're incredibly brave and courageous for standing up, but they're scared. The Jewish community feels abandoned. It's as if, you know, enough promises from the government, you know, it's nice to condemn anti-Semitism. It's nice to say that it's not part of our society, but it's so entrenched into the society there. And the
Biden moment? Yeah, I had a Biden blast. Bro, I'm having a Biden blast because I'm fucking running on fumes. Okay, chat, calm down. I'm trying to still offer you a decent commentary when my brain is like mush.
Government is not acting. At one point, I was speaking at the Toronto City Council and I asked them, how can you how can the police not act when you hear these protests and calls for globalized intifada? And they said to me, well, it depends on intent. And that really harks back to what we saw, if you remember, with the congressional hearings when at least Stefanik, soon to be American ambassador.
Photo of the damage to the Montreal Convention Center from Friday night's anti-NATO protest. About 6 windows were broken. I regret to inform you that my home city of Montreal has fallen. We will never recover from these 6 broken. Guys, I'm so sorry I showed you the devastating impact of this kind of protest. It is a real war zone. I should have offered... It's my bad. I should have offered a trigger warning ahead of time. NATO, one of the world's, like, the most violent global fighting force on the planet, absolutely destroyed by 6 protests breaking 6 total windows in Montreal. It's over.
The UN grilled the heads of top universities.
Diabolical, what happened there?
Yeah, genocide depends on context, and it's the same situation here. So I think the community is fed up. They feel abandoned by the government. Israel feels abandoned by the government, and quite frankly, it feels like Canada has abandoned their own values.
Well, Justin Trudeau was meeting with Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. One wonders if that featured in their discussions. But it brings me to my next point, and that is what the Trump administration could mean for the fight against anti-Semitism. We're talking about Oxford, we're talking about Canada, Amsterdam, and of course you.
Yeah, Trump is going to punish Oxford Union for kicking out Yosef Haddad. Oh my God. What a positively insane conversation to be having openly, like without even a sense of shame. Also, it's really funny because like Donald Trump also kind of an anti-Semite himself. Okay. He's on the side of anti-Semitism. No. He is anti-Semitic, but also, more importantly than anti-Semitic, he's pro-Israel. And he's unconditionally pro-Israel. And that's what these guys are talking about when they say Trump will punish our enemies. Because they don't give a fuck about, like, the real anti-Semitism. They give a fuck about anti-Israel sentiment. That's it. That's literally it. It's not about someone being anti-Semitic. It's about someone being anti-Israel. That's what matters.
You campuses as well, your sense of what things could look like post the 20th of January in terms of having Jews in America feel safe.
Look, I'm cautiously optimistic in knowing that there is.
Yeah. Jews in America are going to feel so safe. Even though 80% of the Jews in America voted against Trump. They're going to feel so safe with Donald Trump, though, for sure. Jews in America, notoriously unfamiliar with the ways in which fascism manifests, you know? Definitely. Just like when Jews in America felt super safe when Trump was president last time, and he primed the Nazis so fucking hard that they were running around screaming, "Jews will not replace us," in the streets of the United States of America. This is the problem. When you care more about Israel than you do about anti-Semitism, you say dumb shit like this. Jews in America will feel safe when you got Christian nationalists in positions of power.
There is a sense of unpredictability in terms of what will happen, but we certainly need to judge in terms of what we have, and that includes the people that have been appointed to high-level cabinet positions, and they're all incredibly staunch friends and allies, supporters of Israel, who have been unwavering in speaking out against anti-Semitism. And we have to look at also what the president himself, or president-elect, has said. One of his first statements in the days after election, they said that they will take accreditation away and take funding away from those universities that receive federal funding, but yet continue to not only engage in anti-Semitism, but refuse to take action. So I think there will be positive steps in terms of not just on campuses, but elsewhere and in the international arena, which is so critical as well, including at the UN and elsewhere. So time will tell, but I think the initial steps are quite positive.